Rugby Championship Team of the Week for round number 5, folks. Let's go through 15 players who stood out at the weekend with some good performances, go through some stats and key moments and whatnot, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on who you would be picking if you were picking a 15-player Team of the Week. Kind of a hard one for Argentina because they got walloped. They're in a similar position to the All Blacks a fortnight ago. So don't be holding your breath for Argentinian contributions, but as I said, we'll go through them and there'll be some honourable mentions at the end. We would be hard-pressed, because I try to pick them now in the order in which I wrote the names down. You'd be hard-pressed not to chuck in this guy in your first selection of the week. Sasha Feinberg Ngomazulu, in a performance where he breaks the individual scoring record for a Springboks player in a single match with 37 points. If you didn't select him first, I don't know you, but I don't know. Unbelievable. That's just one of those games. 3 tries. The dude has got pace. The guy has got footwork, and he even had like Adi Savia style exaggerated dummy pass, which still somehow managed to work, and he sniped from like the number 9 role when he was just at the base of a ruck, close to the Argentinian line. Crazy stuff. Sets up Cheslin Colby with a sweet try assist as well. The guy was in freakish form. The cross kicks, generally, the kicking game was, difficult for the Argentinian guys to manage. He was chewing through the run meters, had 134 of them from 13 carries. Dude's getting 10 meters a carry. 3 clean breaks, 13 defenders beaten. These are stupid. These are going to make every other guy I picked today look terrible in comparison. Guys who had standout games don't look very good. I mean, 2 out of 4 tackles. There you go. There's something. He's got a penalty conceded, which directly led to 3 points. He does have a turnover conceded to maybe give the other guys a bit of a chance. But goodness me, the guy was quite incredible. What a performance. Be happy if you saw that one live, that, you got to see that. Because you don't. I still remember watching Dan Carter do his thing against the British and Irish Lions back in the day. This felt like, that kind of performance level from an individual. Freakish stuff. Next guy I'm going to pick is an All Black. Cam Roigard. Like, not the same level as what Sasha was doing for the Boks, but Cam being back for the All Blacks makes us look a better side. Dude gets 2 tries. He gets a kind of traditional halfback snipe and a traditional halfback support line try. So good stuff from him, and just generally felt dangerous. Quick ball, quite happy to carry. There's 8 carries for 67 meters and bust 3 tackles, which in most outings doesn't seem like a bad outing, except in this case he's like pretty much half of Sasha's meters and, 3 defenders beaten compared to 13. As I said, pales in comparison, but for normal games, that's not bad numbers, man. 99 passes, as I said, he kept the ball moving when the All Blacks attack was going in that kind of relentless mode. Couple of offloads, only the 5 kicks. It was a low kicking game, which I felt like worked in New Zealand's favour. 9 from 12 tackles. Could be a touch higher, but for a halfback, it's not too bad. He does have the 1 turnover conceded, but when you've passed the ball 99 times and kicked 5 and run 8, that's actually not too bad. Yeah, I feel like New Zealand look a better team when Cam Roigard is about. Good stuff from him. Good to have him back. I'm going to put him on number 6, but he wears number 7 for the Boks. I'm just used to blindside flankers being a number 6 here in New Zealand. But Pieter-Steph du Toit, again, on another day, that's potentially a man of the match shift. You get 2 tries as a Lucy. 1 out on the wing from that offload from Ethan Hooker, and then the icing on the cake one at the death under the sticks. Not a bad one. Most number 6s or 7s or whatever, flankers don't get 2 tries in the game, but he did. 10 runs for 66 meters is 6 meters a carry plus. It's pretty good. Pretty good stuff. 2 clean breaks and 6 defenders beaten. Like, these are not normal numbers. 8 passes, 2 offloads, 6 from 7 tackles. The Boks had a lot of ball, so they weren't called upon to do that much tackling in this one. Doesn't concede any penalties, but good dude wins lineouts. Still a hell of an outing from him. But it's not going to be remembered at that game, I don't think, sadly. But it's a very good shift from Pieter-Steph, and he's been good constantly for, this entire Rugby Championship, and, for years now, really, hasn't he? But, geez, he was good. Those, I think, are my top 3 picks pretty comfortably. I think there's a bit of a gap between Sasha, and the next two. The next two I think are all kind of a similar level, and there's a little bit of a drop to the rest. But there's still some good performances. I am going to chuck, I think it's for 2 weeks running now, Jasper Visa in here. That guy looked fired up. He was very, very proactive on the ball carry. 13 carries. He was looking for the ball. And 49 meters. Like, loves a kickoff receipt. Give me the ball, boss. I will run it at the guys in the other colored jersey. I'm not going to run around them. I'm going to probably find the biggest one and run straight towards them and try to barrel through them. 5 defenders beaten. Only the 3 passes. Happily doesn't concede any penalties, which has been an issue for that fella. So Russie will be happy that he's keeping his nose clean. It's a couple of weeks now. I think he's not conceded any penalties. None from 2 tackles is a bizarre stat for a number 8. As I said, the box had heaps of ball. He wasn't called upon to make tackles, but apparently the 2 he was called upon he didn't make. But still, Jasper Visa I thought was a key cog in that Springboks massive win. And then another Kiwi, I'm going to go with Leroy Carter. He's got 2 tries and 2 tests now, and he just looks hungry, which is pleasing to see. Like, the All Blacks, at times, this rugby championship, have looked a bit uninspiring, but he still looks really hungry from his 2 games. He'll be pleased to have got a win, because his first test, your debut test, is the All Blacks record defeat. That wouldn't have been pleasing even if you did get a debut try, but he gets a second try, kind of a halfback snipe, even though he's on the wing. He's played halfback before, so after Roygaard tried it, he thought, I'll give it a crack too, and he got over the line, so good confidence from him to back himself from close range. 10 carries for 39 metres and 4 defenders beaten. Not bad numbers in the scheme of that game. 3 passes and 7 from 7 tackles. The dude was everywhere on defence. He smoked Len Ikitau at one point, which was really pleasing to see. That's what I mean. Like, he just seems hungry for work. He does have 1 penalty conceded, but yeah, Leroy Carter, he's been, I don't want to say an inspired selection, because I think Razor overall has been a little bit conservative with selections, but he's one of the new guys that has kind of paid him off with his trust, paid off Razor's selection trust. I'm going to go with another All Black in Ardie Savea. Still looks good, doesn't he? Even when he's not at his finest form, the guy continues to excel. 16 from 16 tackles. The guy is a beast on defense. He wins a pretty magic turnover, which was, in the context of the game, pretty important. And he has 51 meters from 11 carries. He's a hard man to bring down. Ardie on the carry. 7 defenders beaten from him. And a clean break. You could argue he could be up. I could have picked him earlier. But yeah, he's just doing Ardie Savea stuff. He's got 8 passes and offload. Does concede 1 penalty. But yeah, man. Having Ardie on form, Cam Roygaard back, a guy like Leroy Carter coming through, those are the promising signs for the ABs. Need Ardie to keep that up. Remember, he was captain for that one as well. Haven't got any Wallabies on the board yet. I am going to chuck Len Ikitau there. Didn't play the whole game. Joe Schmidt mentioned in the post-match that there had been a bit of an illness throughout the camp, so some of the guys were potentially a little bit lower on energy reserves than they might have been. But if that's the case, I can imagine what he could have been doing if he was 100%. Len Ikitau. He's credited with the 1 assist, which is the pop pass to Harry Potter, which was a thing of beauty. He's got really silky handling skills, does Len Ikitau, but he's got the carry before the Pollard try as well. That's what he's always looking for work. Very high work rate guy this rugby championship. He gets that carry, which then Pollard is able to pounce on the phase after and get the try. So it's not a credited assist, but it's pretty much an assist as well, or it's at least a big contribution to the Wallabies shift. 12 runs for 30 metres is a little bit of credit to the All Blacks defence. The All Blacks tackling numbers were really good in that game. So he would probably like a little bit more go-forward ball than he got, but still 2 defenders beaten there. 8 passes and offload. 14 tackles for a 12 is pretty good. He misses 3. Still pretty good numbers. He's got 2 penalties conceded, though, and 1 turnover conceded. So, like I said, imagine if the guy was not recovering from whatever bug had been going around the Wallabies camp. Yeah, quite a player. Next one, I got to give credit to a front rower. Even though the stats never really reflect the performances, Bowen Fencer called into the box starting lineup ahead of Oxenche, who was a withdrawal, and the box scrum pretty much from the get-go looked to dominate. Like, they were pinged a couple of times. You know, at least Thomas Tutor got at least pinged once. Was it twice for a knee on the ground? But Fenta didn't concede any, which is always like a gold standard marker. Like, one of the things you can look at, not universally, because it's not always true, because props concede more than just at scrum time. But if you look at a game and you think, man, that scrum seems dominant, those guys seem under the pump, just look up the stats of the players. Does the prop you think doing well have any penalties conceded? And does his opposite number, like for Bowen Fenta, does the opposite team's tight head have many penalties conceded? If so, they're probably doing all right. So Bowen's got none conceded, which is a pretty gold standard for a prop. 5 runs, 2 meters. Again, for a prop, those stats are fine. They'd like to be a little bit higher, but it's not really why you pick your props. Couple of passes, 8 from 9 tackles, so that's really good. And yeah, like I said, doesn't concede any penalties and was part of a pretty dominant box scrum, which got them directly points on the board. So that is worth a lot in the game of rugby. Next, I'm going to go with another one of the ABs, guys. I'm going to go Fabian Holland. He's a big work rate guy as well. 16 from 16 tackles. He's continuing to be one of our main defensive options. He was doing it all Super Rugby season. It's pleasing to see him carry that kind of same work rate and same result level at test level. He's not been like left behind by the pace of the game kind of thing. And he's such a good line-out option because he's a big dude. 14 line-out wins. It's pretty much more than everyone else combined in that game. He was quite a mainstay of that All Blacks line-out, which was shocking against the Box a couple of weeks ago. To have him regularly catching that line-out ball was peace of mind for the ABs. The Wallabies weren't able to disrupt. He also got 13 passes and 12 meters. Not really why you picked the dude. 9 runs, but certainly very busy. I'm liking the look of Fabian Holland. Just a little bit of a concerning one with Scotty Barrett, because you got Vati, you got Holland, you got Barrett. Like, what's your best starting lock-in duo? One for Razor to figure out. Another Wallaby. I got Billy Pollard up here, the Wallabies hooker. He scored a try. Phase or two after a maul. Maul had gone close. Pollard is able to get a close range one, which he's been doing again all Super Rugby season, so pleasing for him. And 8 runs for 28 meters is cracking numbers for a front rower. So well done to him for getting around the paddock. Likewise, 19 out of 22 tackles is a huge defensive shift. The Wallabies had a few of them in that game. Also wins himself a turnover. Wallabies lineout was largely pretty good. I think it was at 90%. So he's a big part of that. Does concede 1 penalty. But yeah, 5 passes. Good effort from the Brumbies, number 2, and the Wallabies, number 2. Next guy, fullback. Tough call. I went with Damian Willemse. You could have picked somebody else there if you wished, but I went with Willemse. They shifted him to fullback for this one, like in terms of his starting number. He's obviously played in different positions around the paddock over in Wellington a couple of weeks before, but 10 runs, 45 meters. Guy continues to get good go forward. He only busted the 1 tackle this week, but his second playmaking option is a really beneficial one for the Box to have when he is at fullback. He's got 5 kicks, 7 passes, and an offload. So the guy runs, kicks, and passes. He's got all 3 aspects of his game, and they make him a real threat when he does get that ball in hand, because you don't know what he's going to do. You really got to keep an eye on the guy, and just because you can see him doing it doesn't mean you can stop him. 2 from 2 tackles, so not called upon to defend that much, as I said. He went off after like 60-odd minutes, so these numbers would be even pumped up higher if he'd stayed on the 80. But yeah, pretty good stuff from Damien. Seeing him get another game. And then another one of the Bok boys, I've gone with Archie Snyman. Kind of snubbed him a couple of weeks ago when he had a pretty sexy performance off the bench. And he did it again. So I thought, all right, we'll go with a little bit less work rate, like pure like tackle count numbers this time. And we'll add big Archie's like passing game, because he is, like, a lot of the Box big guys have got good hands, right? Like we talked about it in the preview. Eben's been offloading like mad. Peter Steph's got good hands. You know, like Lut Diaka is one of the best ball handling locks in the world as well. But Archie Snyman is just, he's on a different level from them. He is a freak with those long limbs of his, and his ability to seem to have so much time on the ball when he passes. It's a hard thing to stop. He's been doing it to teams for years and years now. Like 3 carries, 3 meters. That is nothing to really write home about. 3 from 5 tackles. Again, there's nothing particularly fantastic about that. You could certainly pick a lock like Fabian Holland, who, crank through 16 tackles. But 8 passes and 3 lineouts once. He's the second best lineout option for the Boks, and a lineout which was pretty solid. And yeah, just getting the long limbers. They got an offload, which I think directly led to the Mani Libbok's try, even if it was a bounce pass that hit the grass. But yeah, he's just a really hard guy to pin down. So Arceus Neyman. It's kind of a couple of performances backed up together, I guess, because I feel like I snubbed him in the past, but yeah, sometimes you got to go with your gut. Left wing, I went with Caleb Clark. Shame he had to go off early. He was in tears at the start of the match as his old man sung the national anthem. Apparently didn't know that was going to happen, but that was pretty cool for him. And he gets a try on his return and looked pretty secure. The All Blacks back 3 at times have looked a bit shaky, especially with aerial balls, but he was looking good. 8 runs, 69 metres for the minutes he's on. Good return. Couple of defenders beaten. I'm assuming one of them's on Jorgo for the try because Jorgensen can't stop him. It's a bit of a mismatch in size between those two guys. 1 from 1 tackles, 1 pass. Doesn't cough up any pill, which has been an issue for the All Blacks outside backs. Doesn't concede any penalties. So finishes try in the corner at his home ground at Eden Park. Pleasing to see. Hopefully his injury is not too bad. Ty Hibb was a tough one. Because like I said, Thomas Tutoy conceded at least 3 penalties in that game across the time that he was on. I went with Wilco Low in his stead. Again, largely because the box scrum was dominant. There's no massive stats that scream out, Wilco Low, best prop in the world. 2 carries for 9 metres is actually pretty good for a prop in terms of metres per carry. Props usually go 1 for 1. So to go 2 carries, 9 metres, 4.5 metres a carry, not bad. 1 pass and 3 from 4 tackles. So all that's fine. But again, he only concedes the 1 penalty and is part of a very dominant Bok set piece. So I think if you're a Boks fan, you'd be pretty pleased, despite the fact that they had, the late change with Ox not playing. Your scrum still went pretty dominant. And the last one, I'm going to do something I don't think I've ever done before. I don't know who to pick at 13. I don't know who to pick. I guess the default pick would be to go Moody, because the Boks were stellar. But I don't know if Moody was that flash. He coughed up a couple of penalties as well. Didn't get a heck of a lot of penetration on attack. Like Proctor, Suali'i. The All Blacks were finding space in the midfield with Suali'i there. Sinti. I don't know, man. I don't think any of the starting 13s were that flash. I couldn't pick one. You guys pick them for me. Who are you going for at 13? Sometimes I can kind of sneak one in if there's been positional changes and somebody gets a decent run. If none of the starters seemed that flash, but 13 was a bit beyond me this week. Maybe it's just a lack of sleep. Don't know. Promise some honourable mentions. That is the 14 guys that I picked for the week. Cody Taylor was still pretty good for the ABs on his return. Big part in our lineup being as secure as it was for sure. Didn't pick any Pumas, but Joaquin Oviedo looked the standout guy of the Pumas forward. Certainly he was getting more go forward than the other guys. Morne van der Berg came off the bench for the Boks, and he looked really sharp. Likewise did Mani Libbok. That's your proper bench impact. Damon De Linde had a few big carries. Maybe would have liked to get his hands on the ball a bit more. Geordie Barrett, likewise, got himself almost in some hot water with a tip tackle, which didn't get pinged, but he was largely pretty busy around the park, which has been pleasing to see because he's been lacking a bit of punch. Will Jordan could have been your other selection at 15, I think, if you'd wanted to go someone ahead of Willemser. Quintu Paya likewise added some punch to the All Blacks go forward, kind of stationed out wide more than he's used to. Juan Cruz Malia, another one of the Pumas guys who had some nice moments, helped set up a try. Ethan Hooker still looks very confident, ball in hand, the youngster. But yeah, that is the team of the week for round number 5. We still have one round of the Rugby Championship to go. You guys let us know your thoughts. Who were your standout performers of the week? As I said, everyone kind of pales in comparison to Sasha for this one, because that was a heck of a performance. But as I said, we got to highlight guys in the other positions as well. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We're getting closer to 100k. Be nice to get there, but we'll see. You guys take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.